So I have been a Nikon shooter for the last 5-6 years, and this is my first impressions video on the Sony A7 IV. First, not the final. So no matter what I say now, my opinions can change in future and may change very quickly when I have a deeper experience of using this camera in the next few weeks or months. I'll break this discussion down into three parts: the build quality, feel, the materials, all of that. And second, the ergonomics, ease of use, button layout, and those things. And third, just the output at first glance after taking a few pictures in the last 5 days. Now, let me talk about the build quality and the materials first and the feel. First of all, the grip is better than the A7 III, but it still feels less comfortable and feels cheaper than the Nikon's. It's not rubberized, it feels some uh, plastic material, or if this is rubber, I don't know what kind of rubber this is. The back panel slightly caves in with the pressure of my index finger, like if I press it like this, it sort of slightly caves in. And try your luck, you can't do that to a Nikon. I wanted to clean the sensor, for example, and when I activated the sensor cleaner, the sensor started moving violently. I thought the body was breaking down. I was shocked to see how clunky it was, like just the feel of it when I was using it. And then when I shot with this camera, the Sony A7 IV, the shutter sound, it can't be missed. It's loud and quite unrefined. Let me show it to you. I hope you could hear that. It's loud. It's really clunky. I mean, if you ever used a Nikon body, you'll realize how smooth the shutter sounds are. It just you just feel that they are more refined cameras. The back screen is great, but not as sturdy as I would have expected to be after having used the Nikons for some time, especially the tilt screens. This is much better than the A7 III's back screen. That was really flimsy. This is not as flimsy as that one, but it still does not feel sturdy. I feel that I'll have to be careful with it. The battery door, it does not automatically lock. So I have to pull the latch and then it will close. Let me show you. What I mean by that is, like, if I open it and then if I press it, it doesn't close. I have to pull the latch and then it closes. So overall the body sort of feels hollow. It feels like a high grade fiber plastic shell, and there is stuff inside it. Not very confidence inspiring is how I would describe it. The sensor, for example, moves around when the camera is switched off. I expected the IBIS mechanism to be locked in place when the camera is not in use. And that's problematic for me because, when you're traveling and you're traveling for long hours in whatever vehicle you're traveling in, you have this sensor that's constantly moving inside the body. I'm quite sure that's going to lead to aging of the body faster. I mean, that's the most logical conclusion. Now, if you talk about the ergonomics, the ease of use, the button layout, Sony just wins. There are just so many custom buttons. I think you have the same number of custom buttons on the A7 IV that you get on the A1, and then there are 4 rings, and all of which are customizable again. And I do not get that with the Nikon's. Great layout, really fantastic layout. Everything is within quick reach. This is one of the easiest cameras to use and very customizable. Let me show you some of the basics of how I have set it up, and I'm going to do a detailed video of that later on. So, for example, this is my general tracking autofocus button. This is my eye autofocus button. I use this one to change from human eye autofocus to animal eye autofocus to bird eye autofocus. I can just quickly, I have 3 buttons and they allow me to change to 2-3 different things. The joystick button can be used. I've set it up to move from AF to MF as an autofocus to manual focus, because unlike in Nikons, what happens is that whenever you turn the wheel on the lens, it automatically becomes a manual focus system. But here you have to change to manual focus, and so I needed a button to do that. I've set it up to do that. There's also a button here, this one, and that's a button that allows me to control flash. So these are some of the ways that I've set it up. Broad stories that I have three, four buttons just at the top, uh, from where I can access all autofocus systems, and that's really, really convenient. Now I took a few pictures, and my first impressions about the quality of the pictures, the colors, the output. Let's talk about that. Initially, when I took the first few shots, I really didn't like the output. Now I'm not talking about the raw files. I'm still to edit the raw files, and I shoot a lot with JPEGs. Straight out of the camera, image quality matters to me a lot because I'm a practical person. I need to save time and cost of storing a lot of data. While I shoot in RAW, I don't always edit in RAW. It's only when I'm struggling with some of the pictures that I move to the RAW file and then edit them. So with JPEGs, I didn't like the pictures initially, the first few days. The skin tones, Sony keeps talking about that they're improving their color science. Okay, maybe they are, but then I thought maybe I should see how I can get the best out of this camera, because color science, pleasing color science, not accurate color science. Pleasing color science is often a problem with the Sony cameras. So no, I need to make it work. That's the same thing I maintained about the Z bodies, not the Z9, the other Z bodies. That you may have some autofocus issues. There are ways you can fix that. There are ways that you can learn the camera better. And you can make the camera work for you. And that's what I talked about when I talked about Jared Polin's review on of the Z cameras. Now, similarly, when I use the Sony A7IV, I'm trying to find out what's the best way to to figure out a profile or a look that works for me. So I looked into what Sony calls the creative look and the picture profiles. I in fact turned off the picture profiles and then tried the creative looks. To my pleasant surprise, you can actually customize the creative looks much like the Fuji's. That's amazing. And that makes me happy. I can control how I want my JPEGs to look straight out of the camera. I can change, or I can add a faded look, control shadow, control highlight, control clarity, and the amount of digital sharpness applied. I always typically reduce digital sharpness and clarity, but broadly, you can do all these things. And overall, I found a couple of creative looks that really worked for me so far. So far, just a couple, and I'm still trying to figure out how to make more profiles work for me. But no match for Nikon though, because whenever I use any picture profiles on Nikon, straight out of camera, the JPEGs are fantastic, and then I edit them quite a bit, and they really, you can really use the fine star JPEGs from Nikon, and you can really edit some of them quite well. So far I liked a couple of them, but I'll see. I'll have to learn the camera better. So do I like the Sony A7IV being a Nikon shooter primarily? Well, I have mixed feelings towards the camera. There are some things that I quite like, and there are a few things that I do not like. I do think that Sony sucks in build quality. Even the much cheaper Z50 has that nice rubberized grip. It feels dense and like solid. Feels good, feels premium. This I don't know, this feels a bit plasticky. And now, before you tell me that I'm biased, that I'm a Nikon fanboy, etc., let me tell you, yes, I'm a Nikon fanboy. I am. I'm a Nikon fan, not a fanboy. But am I completely happy with Nikon at this point? Hell no. Nikon needs to give us a Z8 within 3,000 US dollars. Nikon needs to come out with, Nikon needs to make that Z8 what the R5 is for Canon, but much more finished, much better polished, because they had a lot more time. Something that's way better in low light autofocus than what we have in the current Z6 II and the Z7 II. We need the Z9 autofocus to trickle down to other cameras not 2 years later, today, right now, and we've been waiting for a firmware update for a long time now. We need a date for the Z6 III and the Z7 III, and we need to know what those cameras are going to become, because there's a lot of confusion, because the D850 users, the D750 users are waiting to upgrade, and they don't have a camera to upgrade. They're just looking at the Z9 and thinking, I want something like that in my kind of body within my kind of budget, but I don't want to make a lot of compromises. So, or else they'll probably shift to Canon, or some will shift to Sony. We need an amazing D500 replacement in the Z mount, and something that will be an answer to Fuji's upcoming XH2. We need f1.4 lenses. I don't care what many Nikon buyers say. Buy the 1.8 if you need the 1.4. That's absurd, and how. I'll explain why that's absurd in a different video. Also, we need a 135mm lens, an f2 or f1.8, not f2.8. We need these things. So before you tell me that I'm biased and I'm just a Nikon fanboy, etc., etc., let me tell you that this A7IV is my camera. I have bought it with my hard-earned money, and really, really hard-earned money. Let me tell you that. So I just told you how much Nikon really needs to do to make us, all of us, really truly happy. The A7IV is a great camera. There is a clear space for this body and a few lenses in my bag. In the next few videos, I'll tell you the kind of lenses I have bought and I'm planning to buy in future. So if you're interested in some deep analysis between Fuji, Nikon and the Sony systems, hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you soon with another video.